I can do it. Are we on time?
We are.
Thank you. Okay.
We're live.
Live? It's Saturday. Right. We are authorized. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. It's time now to take the elusive gavel and hand this over to our president to kick us off for another week of fun, excitement, and some tech masterage. Welcome our president, Vince Bullinger. The gavel is yours.
Thank you, Mike. You can all please rise, and if you care to do so, please join me in saluting our flag and reciting in the national anthem. Let's say it again. Pledge allegiance. I'm going to keep doing that just to get you guys on your toes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Do we have a timer today? Yeah. Tony, do you have an opening invocation for us? It's coming. He sure does. He's very well prepared with his iPad-ish or other tablet thing. Tony Pierscott.
Yes. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. John Quincy.
Yeah, just thank you. Yeah, John Quincy, you can email this to John Quincy and I'll get the rest of it. At least top 5, if not 2 or 3. First thing on the docket after that is to welcome our guests. We have wonderful bagels here brought to us by Sarah Rosa from Texas. And Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you hear about and what brings you to TechMasters.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like Vince said, my name is Sarah Rosa. I work for Tech Systems, and Vince and I have been in contact for probably a good year and a half or so now. And he told me a little bit about your guys' group and just everything that you're about and the improvement that you try to make in yourselves and in each other. And I just think it's a great organization. And anyways, it's just something that I like to get out and see a few familiar faces since I've been here once before and meet a few new faces. So just wanted to come by, say hello, and bring some bagels and one of those days.
Yay, bagels. Yay, bagels and Sarah too. No, I didn't catch your name. Could you introduce yourself? Tell us what brings you here.
Yeah, I'm Andrew, and we corresponded. I joined the group on Meetup,
okay. And
I live in downtown St. Paul, so I took the bus here this morning, and actually Google was wrong and dropped me off so yeah, I'm learning user experience design, and I was doing a coding boot camp at the Nerdery, and we decided that UX would be a better fit for what I want to do, and so this is all part of my process of networking and learning and talking to people and practicing communicating, and just generally this is something I've wanted to do for a while. And the fact that this is TechMasters, I wanted to do Toastmasters for a while, but the fact that it's TechMasters and it uses all of that, pretty good. So yeah, once again, I'm Andrew, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. I live out there. We'll just carpool next time. Really won't. We have a couple more guests over here. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what brings you here?
Hi, I'm Matt Anderson. I'm an employee at ILM for a couple months. Full stack developer, I guess. Just was kind of curious about the organization, so interested in learning more.
Great. Great. And of course, we have Speechcraft Chair David Rasmussen.
Hi, David Rasmussen, Speechcraft Chair. I'm here because this club did Speechcraft, and I wanted to hear your example of what you thought went well or not well to use it as an example for other clubs.
Great. David will be performing an interview, kind of well, not really a mock interview, but kind of sort of mock interview for one of our speeches later today. Do we have meetings from our previous, minutes for our previous meeting, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, we do. Allow me one moment to look it up.
Your moment will be allotted.
It was a Jacome meeting.
Very good.
I bet it was all about trophies, in fact.
Would have been February 9th. We had a theme, Raiders of the Gilded Gavel, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Our roles were Toastmaster Mike, invocation timer was John, grammarian was Vince, with the word of the day, Jocund, I believe, Mark, Jovi, or suggestive of high spirits. Our 1 minute Toastmaster was Nick. Our general evaluator was Mohammed, court jester was Alex. We had a speech by Clea, beating the status quo, evaluated by Brett. And that was our only speech. Best speech was won by Clea, best evaluation was myself. Sparkplug was won by Marie, word picture was won by Alex, and I always struggle with WOO. Wise Old Owl went to Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. If you had noticed, he had mentioned something about the elusive guild gavel. And you're wondering, like, why does he have this gavel? It's going to throw out his shoulder if he tries to swing this thing around. Well, this is our typical gavel. It's tiny little easy. And this giant thing over here, if you haven't heard of it, is the elusive guild gavel. Mike, Brett, and I went out and required this from another club. Basically, what it is kind of like a traveling trophy. You go there and you steal it. And I noticed that our meeting has started, and we now have 2 guests from another club. Therefore, we get to keep it for another week. Awesome. So hopefully it'll be bringing in a bunch of new guests, but 1 at a time instead of 2 at a time, because that includes the gavel. So anyway, in the meantime, old business, no new business. Anybody have any new business to share or that they want to bring up? No. How about any announcements? Else?
When we will organize roles for table topic and test.
I will make sure that Brett has that ironed out today.
Or you should discuss it during.
I understand. Sure, we should definitely bring it up as far as who's going to compete. If you want to bring it up, I definitely we should bring it up as far as announcements concerned. Next week we'll be having a tabletopics contest for the club, and the winner of that will go to the area contest on March 10th. And it's just table topics, so I would suggest that anybody who cares to just answer a normal table topics question, go ahead and compete. We don't really need to say like, oh boy, I don't want to be.
You need judges, like,
Sure.
yes, so you
So-
decide how many years.
Definitely Brett will have all that, and we'll have that ironed out today. But if you'd like to volunteer as a contestant, great. If you don't want to volunteer as a contestant, you're gonna have to be a judge or something like that, okay? Ballot count or something like that.
Okay.
Any other announcements? Then I will move over to discussion items here. The call for speakers for Code Camp is open. I submitted mine and also mentioned that we'd like to have another booth there as well, just as we did in October. Open Source North, I again submitted a speech to that. The call for speakers is open, and I was told informally that we would get another booth there as well this year. Mini demo is on Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Depot of Minneapolis, but none of us are going to be there because we're all going to be at my talk, also on Thursday at the exact same time, on cross-platform mobile development for React Native. So sorry, mini demo. Let's see. So of course, TechMasters After Dark is a week from today, so that means we kind of have to put a little bit more full court press. Thank you to the people who, those of you who have RSVP'd already, but for the rest of you, please RSVP and make sure that you go, because I had initially approached Mike about doing this within the club, for the sole reason of getting better at parliamentary procedure within the club. And he said, hey, we should do that as TechMasters After Dark. So the point was to improve all of us, not just have a TechMasters After Dark. So please strongly consider going next Thursday night or next Tuesday night, I apologize, right here, and learn all about parliamentary procedure so that I'm not quite so awkward here when I'm giving business. Thank you. And let's see what else. So yeah, please make sure to RSVP and proselytize it. I sent a flyer. I think it left out. But I sent a link to a flyer. Feel free to print it out and post it up at your place of work. But please make sure to spread the word. We need to get a bunch of people in. Again, table topics contest is next week, so we need to make sure that we have volunteers for that. And we will have our international speech contest, which just means speech, the following Tuesday. All right. Anything else? Anybody wants to bring up? Okay, then we will move on to our main event here. The award tracker. Everybody have their manuals out? Everybody got their competent communicator, competent leader? Great, awesome, phenomenal. Any updates we have to give to that? So I think Clea gave a speech, but I'm not sure if that would be applicable to her account. I don't even have an account right now. So, like I said, please make sure that you have a calculator on, because we want to make sure that we get these words right. All right, today's Toastmaster is Jesse Cool. Jesse Cool has been someone who has been a long time member of the club. He was absent for a long time, and as he was growing a development practice and growing it as a business leader, please help me welcome Jesse Cool.
So I think the only role that we have missing today is the court jester. However, is able to pull this off of BuzzFeed today, or actually the other day, and it's titled "When the Programmer Follows Orders Exactly," and it goes like this. So the programmer's wife tells him, "Run to the store and pick up a loaf of bread. If they have eggs, get a dozen." So the programmer returns with 12 loaves of bread. Probably not as good as on the fly. All right, so that moves us on to invocation timer. In order to keep us on time today, we have Tony as our invocation timer. Could you give us a brief introductory to the role as well as invocation if you have, please?
Go ahead and give me the invocation. All right. The role of the timer is to keep everybody on time and on goal. And I should grab my little colored cards here so I can flash something at you when it runs out. During your speeches, keep an eye over here. And green says you've reached the minimum time you should. Yellow, think about winding up. Red means stop. Now. And if I start waving it around and throwing it, it means you're way over time. And if this were a actual contest, you'd be completely disqualified from any possibility of winning. Our normal times for like table topics, I think we've been going 90 seconds. So at 1 minute, you'll see the green, 1:15 yellow, 1:30 the red. Speeches normally run 5 to 7, although that's adjustable if the speaker tells me. And for the evaluations, it's 2 to 3 minutes.
All right, thank you, Tony. And although I forgot originally, welcome guests and welcome back, David. It's always nice to have you. All right, so grammar and language is obviously an important part of our journey in becoming better speakers. And today we have William to provide a word for us, hopefully, and tell us about his role.
Thank you, Jesse. As my role of grammarian, today I will give the word of the day. I will use it in a sentence. Let's get that started. Today's word is vivify. The definition of vivify is to make someone or something more lively or vivid. Use in a sentence. If you use proper gestures and voice volume, this will allow you to vivify your presentations today. So please use the word of the day, work it into your table topics, work it into the rest of the activities during the meeting. I will grab the bell of love, and I will be looking for filler words like ahs and ums, and I'll give you a little indicator if you use them. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. I don't know if anyone saw David's last talk, but that was very vivifying. That's part of the word. All right. So anyways, that brings us on to our 1 minute Toastmaster, who's Alex. Alex, do you have 1 minute knowledge that you can share with us?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, thank you. This winter I attended Toastmasters training, and as usual, there are many very helpful information and advices. One of them was about evaluation, and in order to memorize it, they proposed the abbreviation idea. So this is essentially to vivify and to have better imagination and stick to your mind by association. So what is IDEA acronym stands for? First is I, it's identify your goals or area of improvement. D stands for define when you going to improve it and how you're going to do it. And E, establish a timeline how you're going to develop this improvement. And A is always follow up. So this is evaluation and how to improve abbreviation IDEA. Thank you.
Right. Well, I guess we're moving right along, and do we have Jonathan here today? We don't, do we? All right, so what should we do about table topics then? Does anyone else have table topics? Yes.
Sure.
All right, excellent. Well, I'm going to welcome back Vince then as our table topics and president. Please welcome Vince.
Thank you, Jesse. I have the reason why I was able to just such quickly and in a prompt fashion be able to do tabletop. I recently acquired these cards here. Now, these cards are a tabletop conversation card for the entire family. Let's pretend I didn't say that, and just imagine that I made all these things up off the top of my head here. Now, let's see here. So I'm just going to skip David. I'll skip myself because I'm speaking today, and our Toastmaster Jesse. So I'll start here with Mr. Blemos. Feature word of the day: vivify. In 18th century Europe, women had hairdos that were sometimes over 4 feet high, often dusty with flour and decorated with plumes, curls, stuffed birds, artificial fruits, and flowers. The women who wore them had to sleep wearing wire caps to keep rats out. What is the most unusual fashion craze you have ever tried?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. What is the most unusual fashion, what was it, trend?
Craze you have ever tried?
There was a time back in high school when MC Hammer was actually a pretty big thing. And one of MC Hammer's most identifying characteristics, which I can see some people snickering about already, was his pants. The seam was down by the knees. And if he were to kind of do a straddle position, you would be able to tell that the seam was way down below the crotch and his body. I actually purchased a pair of these and I wore them to school one day. I didn't particularly like MC Hammer, but I thought the pants were, I guess, unique in their own way. Got a lot of attention, most of it negative. So I won't be doing that ever again. And I kept those pants for a number of years after high school, just to reflect on that was a bad decision when I made. Thank you.
I'm sure it identified a lot of your social life at the time frame. Tony. The first mass-produced car was the Oldsmobile, named for creator Ransom Eli Olds. When Hitler ordered Ferdinand Porsche to make a people's car in 1936, the result was the bug-like Beetle. Today, car makers choose names that convey a certain mood or quality, like Voyager, Cherokee, or Grand Marquis. What name would you give a new car? Do you know any cars with nicknames?
Thank you, honored table topic master, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. What name would I give a car? I don't know. I don't have a habit of naming my cars. My first car had the name Miracle, only because I inherited that car from a friend who, driving back from college, his car had broken down, was completely destroyed, basically inoperable, and acquired this car as somewhat of a miracle. So that was the history for that one. But car names and brand names are always interesting. I think my favorite is the classic name Nova, which to us it connotes a star exploding in the sky. But something that does not vivify things in Spanish, Nova means doesn't go. And so south of the border, it didn't sell.
Thank you. The first St. Patrick's Day parade in America dates back to 1761 when the parade was held in Boston. The following year, the tradition began in New York City, where it is now the largest parade. The annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, started in 1927, featured live zoo animals. What is your favorite parade, and which part of it do you like the most?
Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmaster, welcome guests. If you're ever wondering why would I ever want to join an organization like this, you think about the kind of question that I just got asked. You know, which parade do I like best? And you go back to the history of parades, and he opens up with this thing from 1761, 15 years before the American Revolution, when all great things started coming together and great ideas. And in fact, this thing called the Constitution eventually, bubbled out of that, to which we ended up with, judges who got placed on courts to go through and actually do some interpretation as to whether or not the Constitution really is equal to the parade that's coming from the guy in the left hand and the right hand. And I love it when the topic master also uses hand gestures while he's looking at me, because that really throws me off. But it doesn't have to throw you off if you look around and you pay attention to things besides his smiling face, and you think, well, if I was to try to vivify this particular question of which parade do I like best? I was listening to the radio on the way in, and they were talking about David Osmek, who gives out popsicles to parade goers, children at the parade. And the argument is that they were handing out these, the little slushy things that come in the little tubes. And he's calling it a popsicle, when really a popsicle has to have a stick. And so the question comes back to, which is it? Is it really a popsicle, or is it just some kind of free frozen juice thing? But he's calling it a popsicle, which obviously shows disdain for what the words really mean. And I think words really do have meaning. And that's where I really pay attention to praise, where you actually do get popsicles that come with a stick. And for that, you have to go to chance. Mr. Toastmaster.
I'm trying to follow Mike. I was drawing like a logic tree of his answer. Actually, Mal, he's not going to answer it just before he started answering, but he kind of did answer it. So, all right, next up is Marie. Pizza is the world's most popular fast food. The average pizza eater consumes almost 60 slices every year. The favorite topping is pepperoni. The least favorite is anchovy. If you could name one dish as your country's official food, what would it be? I'll add and why.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, ladies, gentlemen, guests, fellow Toastmasters. What food would I pick and why? That's an interesting question. It certainly would not be pizza with anchovies, or for that matter, pepperoni. The anchovies stink and pepperoni upsets my stomach. I would probably pick something with a good vegetable dish, something more healthier, less cheese. I know I ate a lot of cheese back in the days when I ate a lot of pizza and I wasn't in the best of health. Eliminating some of those high caloric, really nasty, greasy things from my diet has made an enormous difference in my health. Lost a lot of weight, been able to deal with the high blood pressure and many other things that those kind of foods caused. Therefore, I would pick some kind of vegetable. A vegetable dish I really like is cauliflower just roasted with a little bit of spice and some oil. That's a very tasty dish. Salads, those are always good, a little bit of protein. Beans, I love beans. Tofu can be made very, very tasty. I don't just eat vegetables, I do eat some meat, but I would prefer something more along the lines of healthy vegetables with a more balanced nutrition without some of the negative side effects of pizza and pepperoni. With that, I'll end. Thank you.
And finally, Alex. Last member here. In 1936, a poll conducted by the Literary Digest incorrectly predicted that Republican Alf Landon would win the presidential election. Statistician George H. Gallup improved the methods used to take such polls. He founded the Gallup poll, which gathers public opinions on politics, religion, and values. If you could ask every citizen 3 questions, what would you ask?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. This is rather a very long question. By the end of it, I forgot how it started. So that's why I would like to talk about car names, because I like Tesla car because it named Tesla, because it named after Nikola Tesla, and because of Nikola Tesla, we have all what we have now, and it's an alternative current instead of direct current that is much more usable. And it was very hard battle between Edison and Tesla, and everybody worshipped Edison, but Edison spent sizable time of his life to suppress Tesla by any means. And this type of things, like, kind of very hard. On one side you have science, people trying to do truth, but on another side they have very big egos, and it's interesting how it impacts everything and how people like. And in the end, we have an electric car, which named after Nikola Tesla, and I think this is a very good name. Thank you.
And with that, I will conclude this portion of the meeting and turn it back over to our Postmaster, Jesse.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you for doing that impromptu vivify of table topics. At this point, we're going to take a break, 5 minutes, and can I call the speakers and evaluators and general evaluators to the front, please? Thank you.
There was an opportunity to drop it, yeah.
I've been great job about that.
Yep. We can do about it.
I'm gonna speak your story about it.
Make sure you use this.
I think I can, I am the target.
Evaluators are Mike and who else? Anyone else?
And me.
I did. Sometimes, you know, it's hard to make the pressure
So general evaluator usually picks who goes first and all that kind of stuff, right?
So you start with the speaking order, you start with the evaluation.
This is all good, you practicing how to be a leader and make decisions. Yes.
Well, I've got David Vince, David evaluated by Mike, and Vince evaluated by. All right. So David.
So you got some.
Repeat that. There's gonna be slightly different. We're actually going at the same time. I have to talk to you.
So I didn't know I did that.
I never recorded it.
I didn't know I did that.
I would actually just cut you with a
And then you don't have a chance.
You got it.
I'd like to.
You can do it.
I know.
Sometimes.
So how, what do you want the time?
Sometimes.
I'd like to go, I was kind of, so now this to be.
TechMasters, they were.
I recognize,
But
based
I-
on campus.
I want to go.
That's it.
Let's be long-winded in my.
Well, I mean,
You may refer to which one.
Yeah.
But it's better to.
I'll just be long-winded in my. It tells me
You should, it's very kind of hard.
Yeah.
because I was not.
You know, it's simple, you have to read it, makes what you
Gave
have.
it like 2 weeks.
You can find out our website.
Celebrate your wins.
And he's doing number 3 here. When you're the host, that's number 2.
I'll tell you what.
Nancy Hammond.
Why don't you interview?
Careful what you ask.
I think I'm missing a beat.
Those pants. I was gonna. First before.
I'm meeting as the main.
I'm a little older. I went to hippie phase. So I had a pair of Levi's.
It happens every time. So it's essentially, if you have any questions,
Same year.
ask anybody. Actually,
Actually, decorative, not.
Both. Maybe 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah, we kind of have maybe
Yeah, you can, there's not like.
many people join for a couple months. Maybe half of people join for a couple.
There's an outlet.
That way you can put it on this thing too.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
I really did appreciate your gestures and also mentioning the focusing energy. Definitely stuck with you. Focusing your energy on the more doing stuff. Intentionally. Yeah, intentionally. What's that?
Yeah, so there's a really odd concept. The one that originally had been traveling gavel.
Well, you get that
One's
one,
at long,
even
at
after
6 a.m. on Monday.
in
And
the.
the other one was
Wasn't plugged in. It's yes, in the winter it is 494 traffic. Many times if you want you can experiment with it. Overall, it's doing every week. For example, you can go you decide.
I'm just gonna hand this back. Just maybe someone back here.
So it's it's very well developed program. It's very good organization. So you really
don't see how-
type of manual, and this is advanced manual for network.
That part is missing.
Then approaches. And those approaches
Are you,
Reading all.
different types of
Do you want me to hold it? If you don't mind, I'll just
Can I get
like a-
It's so weird when I.
Will that block your sight?
I don't like
build up.
that works. It makes me think.
Especially the kind of one especially because every coach plays
When you have to
tells
separate.
you
For someone,
what was good, also other people constructing evaluation. And when you will be evaluated, also help you to evaluate. So overall, it's we can say something similar to like community college. Go with little by little,
and use that and
so.
Dude, by the way, that the stuff in live just yesterday. So I originally put in something just like a switch kind of thing that would allow someone here to do some sort of something in another case. And somehow that it turned on. Nice. Well, just to allow it to not by chance we're to bring something down and just whatever, because it's decoupled, it's still continuing. Well, anyways, yeah. And emails us, it's my emails aren't getting sent out. We're capturing those and it's still looking like it's just saves you an eligible and it's not. It's as soon as we unplug the mic, it will go out and turn off the video. It's the decoupling thing that's happening. It'll be murky.
6 months from now. But there's people who try and
I have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, just even partnership wise, stuff like that. Partnerships, sharing lunch, you know, stuff like that.
So how about this? You just say,
I should be a office and say,
All right.
I would like to do it this way, or that way, for example.
You gotta, yep.
Open for leadership.
All right. This is big. All right. As Vince mentioned from his email, we're going to be switching it up a little bit today. And it sounds like we're going to be doing an interview type of a thing. So anyways, please help me welcome David to the show. David.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm the Speechcraft Chair for District 6. The guest today is the president of TechMasters. Please welcome Vince Bollinger.
Thank you for having me.
Vince, what is it about TechMasters that is unique in your membership?
Well, thanks again for having me, and I'm really thrilled to be here today. So what is unique about TechMasters in our membership? Well, we have a few challenges that a lot of other clubs don't have. I think the biggest one is that we are not sponsored by a club. We are hosted by our gracious host ILM, but we are not actually sponsored by a club. And what we have to do is we have to go outside of our comfort zone here and just looking at our coworkers or whatever, and try to bring people in who are actually passionate about technology. So what is different between us and other clubs is that we're not being provided a free lunch. Our employers aren't necessarily paying for our membership, that sort of thing. I think that we are a lot more enthusiastic and a lot more passionate about what it is.
And most of you are coders?
Yeah, I think that a good, at least maybe half of us are programmers in general, but we do have people who are things like project managers, business analysts, recruiters, things like that. Anybody who's kind of in the tech field. And of course, programmers is kind of a diverse thing. You could be a database developer, you could be a service writer, you could be a front-end guy, you could be a mobile developer, or something like that. Any kind of a designer or UX kind of person. But in general, I think at least half of us are programmers in some case.
You decided to run Speechcraft this year. What did you expect to get out of it?
Yeah, I feel that we have kind of an issue when it comes to outreach. Obviously, like I said, we have some membership challenges as far as we're not having all of our memberships paid for, and we don't meet over lunch right where we work or something like that, like a lot of corporate clubs do. And what we were looking to get out of Speechcraft was another method of outreach to the community and trying to spread our message more to people who really need it. And I think the tech community really needs that kind of thing because a lot of us are very not very outgoing, I would say. And a lot of us have a lot of issues when it comes to interpersonal communication. So I was really looking forward to outreaching to people and giving them a chance to take a look at us. But also when it comes to Speechcraft in particular, I felt it was a really good opportunity to onboard people. When it comes to people who are more introverted, we have a tough time doing things like joining Toastmasters and getting out there and stepping up in front of a camera and in front of an audience and saying things in an impromptu fashion, things like that, more so than the average person. And of course, I believe I heard that the fear of public speaking is worse than the fear of death for just about everybody. So, and that would be more so for the tech community. So what we're really looking for was that Speechcraft onboards you in a very comfortable, safe fashion, so that if a person who's been around the world giving presentations at conferences, like Mike Bankovich over here, our founder, gets up and gives a phenomenal speech, a person who has never been here before is going to sit here and think, I'm supposed to follow that, and they might just leave right away, especially somebody who maybe they've been to Mike's talks, like, oh, geez, I'm supposed to compete with that guy. Well, if you have Speechcraft, really, you're new people who are competing up against other new people. you're learning along with each other. On top of that fact, they have mentorship built right in, and a lot of us really would have loved to have that when we first started.
So it's a lot more comfortable for a new person to come in and have another new person, and everybody's in the same boat rather than being targeted and different.
Exactly. You're not really quite thrown into the fire. You're given a lot of work, but when all is said and done, you're helped along, you're mentored through the whole process, and everyone's learning together.
Do they have any particular benefits for members of your club that were already here?
Absolutely, I think so. Myself, as the person who ran Speechcraft, I feel that I learned a lot about how to coordinate things. Each week was different. I think that it brought us, it kind of threw a wrench into a lot of our plans in a good way, in the sense that if you go through the motions over and over and over again and keep on doing the exact same things, you kind of get comfortable, kind of rest on your laurels. And I noticed a lot of us kind of get a little frazzled by the change up in the way that we were doing things, especially even on a week-to-week basis. Speechcraft week 1 is different from Speechcraft week 2, whereas your typical meeting is the same this week as it will be next week. And I noticed a lot of people kind of stepping up to that challenge and growing a lot from that from a leadership standpoint.
In terms of leadership awards, did that help toward leadership awards as well?
I think a lot. Even the members themselves were obviously given a jump start on their competent communicators, and we had all of our Speechcraft participants walking out with 3 manual speeches right out of the get-go. In 2 months, could you imagine having 3 speeches knocked out? Anybody who's a member who wasn't in Speechcraft, in 2 months, your first 2 months, did you have any more than 1 speech? Probably not. So to have 3 and to have gone through those motions as kind of the focus of the whole program, I think was definitely beneficial. But myself, I got a very difficult task to achieve in the Advanced Communicator Gold. I haven't finished the entirety of the process of Advanced Communicator Bronze at the moment, but when I get to the Advanced Communicator Gold requirements, I'll have this giant difficult one knocked out of the way, and that feels good.
So what did you accomplish in Advanced Communicator Gold?
Advanced Communicator Gold is the top level of the communication award track in TechMasters, and you have to fill out 2 manuals, which we are partially doing right now, and you have to fill out 2 of those manuals, which is 5 speeches each, and you also have to coordinate a workshop. And Speechcraft is a TechMasters module workshop that fits that criteria. And so I'll have that very difficult task to achieve. So there we go.
That was it.
Yeah.
And were there any challenges, things that didn't go like you expected?
Sure. As I mentioned, every week is kind of like herding cats and dogs. Every week was different. And I really had to be on my toes as far as watching to make sure that not only was it going according to plan, but other people had a full working knowledge about what was happening. I sent out very long emails, at least twice a week, to the Speechcraft members and the people who were mentors on the schedule and things like that. And still, there were challenges. There were people who, you typically when you go from week to week, if you show up on a Tuesday morning, you think you need 5 minutes preparation. Sometimes when you're trying to be a leader and help mentor other people, you need a little bit more than 5 minutes of preparation. And sometimes people had not allotted themselves the adequate amount of time in order to accomplish it. And I noticed that sometimes the timing got away pretty heavily. So I'd be looking at the clock and be 10 minutes behind, and I'd have to cut out a segment. I had a speech that would have helped me work toward either Advanced Communicator Silver or Advanced Communicator Silver or something like that I had to cut out. It was, I didn't want to cut out anybody else's speech or anything like that, so I took one of the two. So timing and keeping everybody on track is difficult.
It basically makes it be a little more flexible.
Especially because everything was new each week.
What's the plan for next year? Are you going to continue?
Yeah, we discussed that with the club executive committee, and we think that it's a really valuable part of Toastmasters, the Toastmasters experience. We think it's going to really help retention levels. I think retention is something that people kind of overlook. And when you look at the membership that we've had so many people in our club, and we've had membership that has been noticeably higher than we currently have. And I think the retention is an issue. And I think that's one thing that I learned when I was looking through Speechcraft and things like that, and why it was different from the way we normally do it, which is to only give we typically kind of let people take it easy and don't have them give their icebreaker until at least a month out, probably closer to 2. And I learned that is very, very, very wrong. A lot of people think, well, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit intimidated to give a speech right away. But what happens is you are not involved and you kind of feel off to the side, and the retention goes down quite a bit. We have had a lot of people who have joined and left after a few weeks because they weren't involved. And hopefully this continuing Speechcraft, I think, will get everybody involved really quickly right away, and will get have the retention escalate dramatically. On top of that fact, we're going to have people who have had a lot of experience right away. After just 1 month in TechMasters moving forward, they will be a much better contributor than other people would be after a month. We did decide to go with the 1 month program instead of a 2 month program because we want to do it every year. And when you think about it, if you go with the 8-week program, that essentially is 2 months. And 2 months out of 12, that means 1 out of 6 meetings will be a Speechcraft meeting. So we will with the 4th meeting schedule.
Anything more you'd like to add?
Well, I definitely would recommend it to any clubs out there who, whether you're struggling for membership or not, I think that it's important to increase the membership, and I think that it really will help improve your retention. It will also help improve the Toastmasters experience from the potential members, and also the people who are helping coordinate and run it, and the members of the group will gain a lot of leadership skills. And I highly recommend it to pretty much every group.
Why don't you give directions in case somebody wants to come to your club?
Find out. Well, we here at TechMasters meet at ILM in Edina. It is essentially Highway 100 and 494, but we are just north of that. The first exit was at 76, and then 77, and then you go east on 77th, and you go about 2 blocks, and you take a right south on Computer Avenue Drive, and you take the very first right on Viking Drive, and it will be your first building on the left.
And this is a Tuesday morning at 7:40?
Yep, Tuesday morning, 7:40, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, and unless it's really bad. Or help.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you for that. A lot of good information there. And as you can tell from our meeting here, we're kind of theming it around talk shows. And our general evaluator today is Marie, and her favorite talk show was from PBS with Bill Moyer. Bill Moyer Journal, I guess. So please help me welcome Marie. Yeah.
Sir, thank you. Sorry, I'm just thrown off. I thought there was going to be 2 speeches and that you are going to speak separately, Vince. So now I'm understanding what's happening. So I am the general evaluator, and I'm less confused now that I've realized what's happening. And my role is to evaluate the meeting in general. And so I'll call for reports from the speech evaluators, the timer, the grammarian, and the all counter. Next, I will comment on the quality of the evaluations given by these evaluators and the prepared speeches and table topics. So the first I'd like to call, because I don't know if this really makes sense, because we normally have 2 speeches and we call for the best speaker, but in fact, it was really an interview. So I think it makes sense to just dispense with that. So what I would like to call on is the evaluators. So we had our first evaluator, Mike, who was evaluating our speaker, David. And Mike, if you could give us an evaluation of David, please.
Thank you, Marie. and fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. This was a different kind of a format, and my goal is to take the evaluation manual for speaking on video and try to provide some feedback to the host of the two-part interaction. And honestly, this is a hard thing to do because it was very different from the typical evaluation. We look at opening, body, and close. It was a conversation between two people. And as a host of a show, I've done a couple of shows, the challenge is to provide enough context as to why the show is here, what the topic's going to be, and then really bring in the guest and give them the gavel and the time to be able to bring out their expertise and really see if you can squeeze out a few nuggets of wisdom that people can take away from the show. And then you wrap it up with, hey, these were the things we learned, and we really are going to be able to use this going forward. And with that in mind as kind of the goal of what a talk show is like, I think, David, that you did a fairly okay job of running the questions. I thought the preparation you had was very logical. You flowed from things all the way down. Your last few questions were, hey, what's the call to action? What's the takeaway? How do I come and visit the club? And I thought that was well done. I thought you had some great preparation. But I thought the opening and the closing, then the flow of how I would connect the show. And if I was producing the show, and if I was the director sitting there, I would say, no, let's reshoot the opening. I want to see you. I want you to focus in the camera. I want you to look at me. I want you to look at the audience. I want you to say, hey, why are we here? What is it that we're talking about today? And really do a better job of introducing the topic and the theme of the show. And then do a good introduction and throw that in. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but just say, okay, well, why is Vince, why is he here up here talking to us? What's his credentials? Why aren't you talking to Jesse or to Alex or to someone else in the room? Why is it that we're talking to Vince? And then bring it out and really flow along with that. And again, at the end, the conclusion, it felt like we kind of stood up and it was just sort of over, as opposed to something saying, well, that was a great interview, let's talk, and then return the focus back to the audience and kind of, transition between where you're sitting up here and it's looking at the camera and you're kind of, you are the host, you're Johnny Carson, you got everyone's looking at you and it's like, okay, how do I deal with this? So I would like to see a little bit more smiling and looking at the camera and kind of going back and forth. And the other thing is taking the answers to what Vince is talking about and seeing if you can drill down into some of his answers to really bring out, okay, well, you said the reactive sequel is the thing that we should be doing. I think that's a stupid thing. In fact, the audience all thinks it's stupid. And defend yourself or to try to bring out a little bit of that, give and take and that play on how you drive it. All in all, I think you served the goal of what the speech was, but I think that you could do a better job if you were to look at how you focus your show. And I'd like to see you do this again. I'd like to see more of this kind of stuff. This was a great idea. It's a great example of a different kind of communication than what we normally do. And I'd love to see us do this some more. But I'd like to see focus on, how you are the host, how you're the host, and how you're bringing your show and bringing other people in and really making a great show of that. But good job and a great effort, and I'd like to commend you for doing it.
And now I would like to call on Alex, who will evaluate Vince.
Thank you, Madam General Moderator. Yes, I also got off guard with this style. It is an advanced speech, yes, and for guests, Vince and David were very much advanced Toastmasters. So Michael let himself to criticize them a lot. And it's definitely when we working with new members or people who do incompetent communicator, it's more encouraging evaluation, less criticizing. So now let me tell Vince what I observed. Yes. It's I wrote also stuff you will read. My main point is that this setup is definitely different what we do usually. And here we have three things for you. Where is an anchor, where is a camera, and where is audience. Yes, and typically we have only audience for speaker and camera up, but we are not paying attention to it. And it shows that for this purpose, it is necessary to have more practice. Like Michael mentioned, that you need to remember make eye contact with the anchor, but also don't forget about camera, because when somebody looking from a camera point of view, they don't see you talking to them. essentially you mostly talking to them, and also there is audience, and you need to involve them in your answers. Otherwise, this is just like one-dimensional. And I think this will come with practice. It's just being on this and kind of be aware. Overall, like it says about dress. So I think you dress professionally. It did not detract anything. I think it was proper. Again, maybe showing more passion, more poise would help audience, but it's very personal. Yes, some people more cool, some people more animated. So you decide how much it should be on the formal level or how much it should be on entertainment level. And also it's asked about anecdotes or stories, and I did not hear much in there. But I think at least 1-2 stories or anecdotes helps to revive audience when it falls asleep or something like this. But I guess as a first thing, it's went very well, but there is a way to progress. Thank you.
So now it's the part where we heard 2 really good evaluations. We'll vote between those, so if everyone could put their heads down. And first, we'll have a vote. Who believes Mike was the better evaluator? And now, who would vote for Vince as Alex as the better evaluator? Thank you. You may raise your head. So now I would like to call on the grammarian to give us the report and the word picture. So.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. First of all, I have failed. My job is to read this when I hear ahs, ums, so's. A number of you did very well. The people who are using the helper words are slipping them in there so quickly that it's very difficult to pick them up. And I'm also from Minnesota, so there's a certain amount of niceness that says I don't want to ring this. But that is my job, and I didn't do a great job today. The people that I found with you-knows and so's, Mike, I caught you on a couple of you-knows, but you throw them in there so fast that I can't catch them. Jesse, I got you on one but that's a marked improvement from last week. Word of the day usage. Alex, Tony, Mike, Benkovich, and Jesse all used the word of the day. So that was so. Using the word of the day, that was pretty good for today. That's all I have. You have a word picture? Word picture. That would be this award for someone who used descriptions and terminology such as like a something. Let me reflect on the answers today. I don't remember any jumping out of me, so I'm going to hold this award for today.
Now we'll call on the timer for the report of the timing of the table topics as well as the speeches.
All right, our 1 minute, starting with our 1 minute Toastmaster, Alex came in at 1 minute and 5 seconds. So spot on. 1 minute, it's always a hard goal to meet. Table topics. William, you made it to 1 second over the goal, 1-1-1. I came in at 1:10. Everybody came in under today. Well, no, not quite. Mike, you went 9 seconds over, 1:39. Marie, 1:30. Alex, 1:07. The speech ran 11:27 for the 2 speakers combined, which it was hard to know what to set for goals on an interview when we're dumping 2 normal speeches together. Mike, you did about 2:38 for your evaluation. Alex, 2:26 for your evaluation. So we all did very well.
Thank you, Mr. So now I'll call on the table topics master for the best table topic speech. Vince.
Thank you. Adam, General Evaluator. Table topics today. As I said, I had done this all impromptu, off the top of my head. I totally originally came up with all of those, wasn't reading the cards, and I thought that you guys did a great job. I think we had a lot of great answers today, and I was kind of shocked by that. I was expecting a couple of bad ones, but I didn't get any bad ones. We had Mike with his weird crack-addicted squirrel logic map all over the place that didn't make any sense, but eventually he answered. I thought that was pretty beautiful. So while I try to shy away from giving Mike because I don't know the tabletop score because I don't want to encourage him, I'm going to have to give it to him today because he did a great job jumping all over the place, making no sense, but still answering the question. So there you go, Mike.
Next, I'll be, since we didn't vote for speakers because we didn't have a conventional speech, we'll have an award for best evaluator. And for that, there's the Fish Key Award, it speaks. And this is because evaluations are key to the success. So for this, I would like to present to Mike for your evaluation.
We may have extra time to practice that.
Yes, we'll do that again. Let's keep that in mind. So now for my general evaluation, and first of all, if I was evaluating myself, I would say I was confused because I really thought Vince was going to have a separate prepared speech afterwards, which is why I was so baffled for a few minutes. So now I'll attempt to vivify the proceedings here. I think some of that we started on time. We introduced the guests, which was really good. The table topics were really saved by Vince. Our table topics person was missing and unexpectedly, and Vince pulled a rabbit out of his hat, and I thought that was really great. Those are some great cards and some great topics. Also, as far as evaluation, instead of the conventional speeches, we had a discussion, and I learned a whole lot of things that I actually didn't know. How much work it took by Vince to prepare speechcraft and some of the things. I learned about the importance of mentoring and many other things. I'm a relatively recent joined to this club, and I'm in the process of learning, and it became more aware to me how many moving parts there are that I wasn't really as aware of. I thought that discussion and back and forth was really great, and more so than a prepared speech, because I learned a lot of things about the subtleties of having a successful club and running a successful Toastmasters club. So anyway, those are kind of my thoughts. This was really interesting. I hope we do more of these to learn more about the nuts and bolts of how things are working behind the scenes. As again, I've only been here a couple months, so I'm starting to pick up more and more about what's happening and how it works. So anyway, I think I'll conclude that my evaluation and turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, and I agree with you, even though this was a little bit unorthodox, it was very interesting. So I have two awards as well, the Fuzzy Mouse, which is usually given to the... Yes, we did.
I actually work
Were you? So usually we have a Fuzzy Mouse Award, which is given to the person who gives a good explanation to a complex technical topic. However, there was no technical topics. And the Spark Plug Award goes to the person who most ignites and energizes the meeting. And I'm gonna probably give this to actually two people at once, seeing as though they're both up here. Can I give this to speakers? Yeah. Sure. Okay, excellent. So David and Vince, I want to award this to you.
JC camera is
Well, sure, why not?
Take this one, yes.
I really don't have much to add to what Marie had mentioned. You guys did a great job, unorthodox, but I learned a lot as well. It went pretty smooth, I think. At that point, I guess I'm just going to turn it back over to Vince, our president. Vince?
Thank you, Jesse. Great job. Let's give a hand to our Toastmaster Jesse today. All right, last few things here. Do we have any new business to mention before we go? No? How about any new announcements? I will add something here.
TMAT next week.
Yes, of course. So with TechMasters After Dark, like I said, I would really appreciate everyone to proselytize that as much as possible. Again, if you're a member, I would really like you to go, not just because we want to show Mike some support, but I wanted us to learn it as a club. So please RSVP and make sure you show up because, like I said, I was hoping that we would learn it as a club, not Mike learn it by himself and teach people who are looking to go to caucusing the following Tuesday how to do things. We're hopefully trying to get our club to be really on par with that. So please make sure to show up. And also there is a parliamentary procedure focused Toastmasters club that meets on Saturdays, one Saturday a month, which happens to be this Saturday. So I would suggest, at least to Mike, anybody who would be interested, I'll try to show up depending upon if my wife will be okay with watching 3 Children Under 5 on Saturday morning again, like she had done a couple Saturdays ago. And as long as she's okay with that and with her sanity in that regard, then I will definitely show up as well to try to proselytize the event and also help get people who are obviously very well versed in parliamentary procedure involved and maybe answer questions that maybe even Mike wouldn't know. So anyway, like I said, try to check that out, but definitely try to proselytize the event, make sure that we make this as big of a success as possible. Anything else anyone would like to add? Then, let's see, next week's Toastmaster, well, that's going to be Brett, because Brett is going to be the Toastmaster 2 weeks in a row. He will be the Toastmaster because he is the
Speech
chairman, the contest chairman for the 2 contests that we're going to be having, the tabletop next week and the international speed contest the following week. Brett I will get on Brett's horse and make sure that he puts out the requests for people who will sign up for whatever. We'll need judges and we'll need ballot counter, at least 1, maybe 2, and of course we'll need contestants. I would not imagine that it would be a big deal to answer a tabletop questions. Please, yes, Alex.
Essentially, you manage schedule for that.
Yeah, yep. So the vice president of education particularly manages the schedule is very, very, very on edge about what we're going to be doing next week. So thank you for being on top of your job there, Mr. Vice President of Education. And let's see, so obviously we won't necessarily have too much of a team, but we will have mostly, next week will in general be a fairly typical meeting as far as having roles. But the following week will be completely taken over by the speech contest because we'll have 3 speeches and it'll be a little bit more long-winded than just answering table questions. All right, any other closing announcements? Again, Thursday, you're all busy coming to my talk, right? Okay, great, awesome. I'll email the details out because I'm sure you're all really, really wanting to know about that. Do we have a closing thought from the timer? Go.
Mark Twain said, keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can become great. And I'm going to add, go forth and help someone become great.
Do we have 10 minutes left?
Yeah.
Will, would you like to come up here and demonstrate one little more time about how to give an award?
Yeah.
Maybe we won't do the whole everybody does it thing like last week. We can if you want.
Sure, let's do it one more time.
Right, awesome.
So the thing to remember is take and shake.
One more time?
Take and shake.
Okay.
So if I present the award with my left hand, which is a little awkward, it forces him to take it with his left hand. I hang on to it, we reach underneath for the handshake, and then obviously turn for a photo.
All right, boys.
Take and shake.
Can you use bigger word like pencil? That's or mouse is too small.
Give
Yeah.
a bigger award. Take and shake. You forget. Optionally turn for a photo. Take and shake. Take and shake.
Great job, Will. And with that, I will throw out my shoulder and adjourn the meeting.